Today we're going to talk about zippers. There are a number of different types of zippers, and different lengths and all kinds of fun stuff. They come in with different materials, and they're all for all different applications. Okay, I've got a few different applications or different types here. This one, first of all, is a separating zipper. It has nylon teeth, and they're kind of wide, and it also has a special bottom so that it will literally come apart for use in a jacket or a sweater. Okay. Now, a separating zipper has this part here so that you can slide it into the slider and then zip it right back up. Whereas a non-separating zipper has a stop at the bottom. So that's how you can very quickly tell the difference between a separating zipper and a non-separating zipper. See the difference there? This one separates because it has that little extra notch there, and this one just has a stop. This one has metal teeth, and it can be used for jeans or a bag or something like that. Something that you really need very strong teeth for. I don't typically like metal teeth. I like to avoid them when I can. For pants, I would use metal teeth because you really kind of need that security. But otherwise, I like to stay away from metal teeth because they tend to stick a little bit. You can hear the friction as the slider goes through it. This one is a smaller zipper for like the back of a shirt or the back of a dress or a skirt. And it also is a non-separating zipper. It has a stop there. Zippers also will have stops at the top. Okay? If they didn't have these stops at the top like this, then the slider will literally slide right off the zipper, and it's a royal pain to get them back on. I've done it before, but it's kind of a pain. This one's an invisible zipper. It has a special kind of slider on it that has a little point. See the little point there? As opposed to this one. Let me see if I've got one that's a little brighter. That's a separating one. Yeah. This one is a regular zipper. And the slider on it is flat right there. Whereas this one, the slider has a point. Okay? The reason why this looks invisible is because the tape is on the top of the teeth. The teeth are on the back side. And so one time, I decided to try, see how this is the back side? I decided to try making an invisible zipper out of a regular zipper like this by simply taking the slider off and turning it around, and it didn't work. And that's when I figured out, oh, the sliding or the invisible zipper has a point at the bottom so that it literally, it's kind of like going through water, makes it hydrodynamic. And so you really kind of have to have a special slider for an invisible zipper. So there's a special type of application for an invisible zipper, which we'll do later. And this one is typically used for a centered or a lap zipper. This is what we're going to work on today. Here's an example of a zipper that does not have stops at either end. And I did this so that you can see what happens if it doesn't have the stop. It will literally slide right off. And then you have to try to figure out how to get it back on. And I saw a video on YouTube somewhere where you can put this like this onto a fork and use it as a jig to slide the zipper back on it. But it's not easy to do without a jig of some kind. So I'm going to do that later. the first thing I'm going to do is sew a 5/8 inch seam, and right about here, this is going to be the bottom of my zipper, and this right here is going to be the center back seam of my garment. So where the zipper is going to go is going to have a basting stitch. I'm going to set my stitch length at the maximum that it'll go, and I'm going to decrease my tension so that it makes...
What do you want to set your tension at?
Try this again. I set my tension down to about 1, and the purpose of that is so that it makes it easier to get the basting stitch out. So I'm going to sew the basting stitch at 5/8 of an inch up to here. Then here, all right, now here, I'm going to reset my tension back to where it was. Excuse me. Put the stitch length back to where it was. Now I'm going to back stitch here and continue my seam down to the bottom. Okay. It's not a very long sample here, but you get the idea. Okay. Now I'm going to press this open. Would you press that open for me? Just like that. Okay, so now that the seam is pressed open, now just to let you know, normally I would have finished these raw edges with either a serger or your 3-step zigzag. From here down to here is just a basting stitch, and from here down to here is my regular seam. I'm going to pretend that I need to shorten this a little bit. I'm actually not going to make this as long. This is where my zipper ends, and so I'm going to have the stop just a little bit below that. And this is actually going to be a little too long because I'm going to have a neckline above it. So after I had sewn this in, I can actually bring this down and I can cut this right about there and then sew the neckline on, and it will get turned down like this, and it won't, like that, the zipper will not come off because that will actually produce its own little stop. Okay, so the first thing I do is it's going to go like this. All right, you want to make sure that the slider is down like this because it's going to be on that side. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to put this zipper, the teeth on this left side, right up against the seam. And I'm actually going to only stitch it right now to the seam allowance, not to the whole thing, but just to the seam allowance. I'm going to position it right there. I'm going to put a pin in it right there. Making sure that the teeth are right at the seam right there. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to my zipper foot. Where is my zipper foot? Okay. This is a zipper foot that I have from my machine. Some of you might also have a zipper foot that looks like this. Either one of these will work. Okay, this is an adjustable one, and once you have it attached to the shank, you can actually slide the foot over this way or over this way. Either way would work. And that will help you. That'll help you adjust it so that if your needle doesn't move as easily, you can adjust the foot itself instead. Each zipper foot has two sides. Sometimes you're going to need to sew on this side, and sometimes you're going to need to sew on this side. So for now, I'm going to put this zipper foot on. And I think I'm going to put it on this side like this. I'm going to move my needle so that it's not going to hit my zipper foot. And I'm going to just kind of baste this on. And I'm just basting it onto the seam allowance for right now. And I am going to go ahead and backstitch because this basting doesn't have to be taken out. And I'm going to go a little bit farther away so I don't run into that stop there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is zip this back up so that my stop is above the fabric. And open it out like this. Okay. Now what I like to do is take a piece of Scotch tape that's 1/2 inch wide. Okay. Most of the Scotch tape you see in the stores is 3/8 or 3/4 inch wide, but if you use 1/2 inch wide tape, it really makes it easier. And I'm going to make a little tab at the bottom so I can get this off easily. And the reason I'm using this board, you can use this board or you can use a wide ruler that has a grid line on it. I'm going to take my ruler and this is a pencil, I think. Yeah. And I'm going to draw a line straight down the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to put this right on the stitch line, right on the seam. Okay. Now this is going to serve as a guide, a sewing guide. And I need to feel with my finger where that stop is because I'm going to sew across just above the stop. Okay. And I'm going to mark that right here. Okay. I don't want to sew onto the stop because if you hit that metal piece, you're going to break your needle. Okay. Now I'm going to switch my presser foot to the other side. And now I'm just going to move my needle so that it's going to sew right along the edge of this tape. And stop here. This is going to be where I'm going to cross over. And I'm going to use my hand wheel to go across here. And the reason for that is because it's going to end up going kind of in between the zipper teeth. And I don't want my machine to, see how it's getting stuck there? It's not moving. So I'm going to have to move it just a little forward. Okay. And now I can go back up the other way. Again, following the edge of that tape. And back stitch. Okay. Now I can take this tape off and look at that nice box that I just sewed around the zipper. And it looks like the machine didn't pull the thread all the way through there. So it's got that little loop there. I might go back and stitch that. Stitch over that. Let's see if just to make it secure. Okay. And you want to make sure that all of your threads are clipped, because if threads get into the teeth of the zipper, they will cause the zipper to jam. And that'll cause problems. Okay. Now I can go in and remove this basting stitch. Just up to there. Let's see if one of them comes out easily. Nope, it's not going to come out easily. So I can just go along like this. And now you have a perfectly centered zipper. And there you have it. And again, go in and take all these basting stitches out. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and try that.